What's going on, everybody? So today we are starting part one of a project that a lot of you guys have seen in the background and been asking questions about and everything else. And the project is this 1989 S13. Now, what we are doing to it, for those of you that were asking, we are doing a turbo setup on the single cam KA that is in this car. Now, before you guys go nuts in the comments with you should SR swap it, you should swap it with this, swap it with that, the deal with this car, my customer found it in upstate New York. How he found this car in such good a shape is beyond me. Now, there's a history to this car. It was owned by a woman who drove this thing all over the country. It went everywhere. It's got a ton of miles on it, but it is in perfect condition and it has seen a ton of action. Now, the cool part about this car is it still has factory AC. The factory AC still works. Everything in this vehicle works. There's nothing that is malfunctioning whatsoever in this car. It is in excellent shape. There is no rust whatsoever on the strut towers on both sides. There is no rust under the car. As a matter of fact, the only rust on this entire car is right there. That is it. So this car is in excellent, excellent factory condition. And what we're trying to attempt here is to keep it as factory as possible, but add a little bit more power that's going to be reliable and will drive like a stock factory vehicle. So we're not welding the diff. We're not doing some crazy loud exhaust. We're not doing anything very crazy. As a matter of fact, this is just your basic like CX Racing kit, manifold, turbo. We're going to be running some upgraded wastegate stuff and some upgraded blow-off valve stuff, but for the most part, it's going to be the kit that came as the kit. Now, we're only going to be running about 8 to 10 PSI on this car. It's not going to be anything crazy. We don't want 500 horsepower. He's looking to get, even if this car makes 250 to the wheels, he'll be happy with it. So what we've got ahead of us, though, on this particular job and what we're going to be doing today is my customer and a friend of his started the project on their own because they wanted to get into cars a little bit more and they wanted to learn about cars a little bit more. Well, they got sort of into the project. As you can see, they managed to install the turbo, the exhaust manifold, and tried to do the oil feed for the turbo and a few other odds and ends, but they quickly realized that they were in over their heads, which is fine. And that's when Julian reached out to me and said, hey, Justin, would you be willing to finish the car? Because we're kind of over our heads and we don't want to mess anything up. So that's what we're doing. So basically today we're going to take a look at the way the turbo is mounted, make sure everything is good. If it's not good, I want to pull the turbo back off the car, fix everything that needs to be fixed, and put it back on the car again. We're going to attempt to do all of the oil plumbing, get that straightened out so that we can actually plumb some fluids into the turbo itself, and we're going to do the oil drain. That's the project for today. If we happen to get any further on it, then awesome. If we don't get any further on it, then awesome. But for today, we're going to try to make sure the turbo is mounted properly. We're going to get the oil lines plumbed out and see where we go from there. So enjoy the ride. We'll be back in a sec. Alright guys, so here's where we're at with the oil feed. Well, the drain actually. The kit comes with all these different drain fittings, which are great because it actually comes with the turbo drain outlet, comes with the line, comes with the AN fittings you need. However, it does come with an aluminum male AN fitting that's supposed to be welded into the actual oil pan. Now, where this poses a problem is that the oil pan on the single cams is metal. It's steel. So what we're going to end up having to do is we're going to either have to find a metal version of this fitting, an actual steel version of the fitting, or figure out something to do with this particular steel fitting that we can then adapt into something AN similar to that, but we're going to have to make something work because you can't weld aluminum to steel. So we're going to get on that. We'll probably end up doing this oil feed right now and get that all situated so that we can bolt some of this stuff back up in place, and then we'll be good. Guys, this is one of those jobs where it takes a little bit longer because you have to undo a lot of what the original customer did, because I don't know where he left off. I'm not sure what it was that he was trying to accomplish. So I kind of got to take stock of everything and try to get little bits and pieces of it figured out so that we can actually do the full thing and do it right. So you guys are going to see a lot of that. There's going to be a lot of me taking things apart and putting things back together. So I'll see you in a bit. And here's exactly what I was talking about. So this is the oil adapter. It's a filter adapter, Mishimoto. It basically goes where the oil filter goes. seals to the block, and then you put your oil filter here, and then it gives you a little port up in here to feed your oil up into the turbo. Now, this was installed, however, it was missing that guy. So, the unfortunate part about that is, had this been started with this thing installed the way it was, it would have just blew all its oil out everywhere and would have caused a problem. So, we caught that, took it apart. We got to put this O-ring in, put it back up in there, tighten everything down, and then we'll be ready to put the oil filter on, and the feed side will be done. Alright, we got it installed. It's up in there. It's nice and tight. Now we're going to try to stuff that up in there and get that screwed on. Make sure that goes good. We've already lubed up the gasket and everything, so see how that goes. Or it doesn't go. This is way too hard to do one-handed. All this stuff doesn't want to move out of the way, so I'll be back. Filter is on. So that concludes that particular section. We got that done, got the O-ring in between both of them. Oil filter's on, and if you can see the little brass block up there, that is our oil feed line, which then runs up here, so we'll have to route that over to the turbo. So down we go. Alright guys, so we got the oil line up through and over to the turbo. Now I'm going to show you why sometimes the eBay kits can kind of bite you in the ass a little bit. Now, although they're great for the price, one of the problems that you run into is that you don't end up with all the accessories you need, and you end up with stuff that's too long. So here's the oil feed line. This line is obviously very long, so there's plenty of room to tuck it around and whatever. But look at the main issue, guys. Screw this in. How high that line sits. Now when you close the hood, boop, kink right down in there. Can't do anything about it. So they don't provide a 90-degree fitting. So somehow, somewhere, we need to find a 90-degree fitting that will fit this so that we can actually run it like so and not have it hit the hood. So we're going to dig around, see if they included one. I highly doubt it. If not, we're going to have to go find one or order one, which sucks because you're constantly ordering parts for these things. But we're going to go do that now. We'll come back. Well, we didn't get as far as we wanted to, but we did identify a bunch of issues. There's a coolant hose way down in here that is torn, that needs to be replaced. So we caught that. The oil feed is done on the filter side. However, we do not have the proper fitting for the top of the turbo. The oil drain is attached to the turbo. However, we do not have the proper fitting for the oil pan, so we got to order that. Remounted the distributor cap because that was on backwards for some strange reason. Got all the bolts in the exhaust manifold, got the turbo tightened up, everything is mounted where it should be, all that is good, all the hardware is in place. We kind of took stock of everything else that we're going to need just to get this particular section of it done. We're going to place that order tonight, hopefully have those things by tomorrow and get back cracking, get the oil feed finished, and then my next goal is to get these coolant lines finished. Once we get the coolant lines done, we're actually going to stick the factory injectors back in here. We're going to start it on the factory ECU, the factory injectors, everything, so that we can check to make sure that our oiling system for the turbo is working properly. Once we figure that out, then we're going to start hanging the intercooler, get the intercooler piping done, hang the downpipes, see what kind of issues we run into with that. And then once we get the Nismotronic, we will put that in. We'll put in a set of aftermarket injectors. We'll put in the Walbro 255 pump, and we'll see where she goes from there. But so as for right now, we're going to be waiting on 2 fittings. We got to put in the proper fittings. I can't have that sitting like that. And just so you guys are aware, you know what? Whenever you do a job like this, or if you plan on doing it on your car, ooh, stepped on something. If you plan on doing it on your car, you know what? Go on YouTube. It's a great resource. Take a look at other people's builds and what they ended up using, or what they ended up needing extra for their kit. A lot of times when you buy stuff off of eBay, it's a very, very specific kit with very limited parts. So if you happen to have one deviation where you need something somewhere else, you're not going to have the part for it. So it's a good idea to watch other people's installs. It's a good idea to kind of take inventory of everything you got in the kit before you start tearing the car apart. This way you'll know right beforehand, most likely, that you're going to need something that you didn't have before. Or something that's going to kind of set you in the way. Like, I know this one, for instance, the owner of the car was telling me that he got into it and started tearing things apart and realized he had a coolant leak. He had a hose that was bad. Well, he replaced it. Well, guess what? We found another one that was bad. These things aren't going to go smooth. This car's in 1989, albeit in totally stock form and never been touched, but that's the other issue. It's never been touched. Everything is brittle. Everything likes to crack. So we have to be ultra careful with this thing. Plus, on top of that, we got to do some modification to make everything fit. And plus, these kits aren't 100% perfectly fitting. So we're probably going to end up having to do some piping modifications. And he wants to keep the AC, so we might have to do a downpipe modification to clear the AC lines. And there's just a bunch of stuff that's going to go into this. So day one, part one of this project actually went halfway decent. It was exactly what I had expected. Missing parts, not enough stuff, things all disarray, trying to get an idea of how the car was taken apart so that I can start to put it back together, which required me taking most of it apart again. So yeah, that's where we're at with it right now. Hopefully tomorrow, once I get the fittings, we can actually complete the oil section of the turbo. Once we get that done, we'll get this car to run in its stock form, make sure we don't have any leaks, and then we'll move on from there. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. I hope you enjoyed the project. I know you guys have been asking about it. What's that red 240 in the back? Yeah, it's a 240. So thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out the channel for more videos. We are definitely going to be doing probably a 4 or 5 part series on this guy right here. And yeah, I don't know. Have a great day.